title odds are as follows. Arsenal, the clear favourites right now. The closest challengers are Manchester City and Liverpool behind them. Then you see Chelsea and Manchester United. Arsenal get their season opener underway against the newly promoted Coventry. Let's hear from Mikel Arteta speaking ahead of that game.
I feel good, different, hopefully better. More excited than ever. Hungrier than ever. I mean, we need to breathe and we need to take this organically because this is going to be a long marathon as well. What we need to show is that desire and ambition to be better than what we were last season, a month ago or a week ago when we play Man City, and we have the ability to improve, to evolve, and that's what I sense and I feel around the club and especially around the place. We need to have a much better availability in the squad that we have last year for long periods of the season to be able that those margins become bigger.
We're delighted to have Theo Walcott, former Arsenal player, joining the show now to talk more about Arsenal and his former teammate Mikel Arteta. Theo, welcome. Let's get started by talking about this fact that Arsenal are clear favourites right now. Is this a new era of dominance upon Arsenal?
Do you know what? First of all, good evening, good afternoon, whatever it is. No, to be honest, I look at this Arsenal team right now and I just feel like there's just... I mean, Mikel Arteta is so intense, but he's got a squad who want to go on that journey with him. But not just that, he's really integrated a team. And I think he's gone away from the individuals who've influenced Arsenal over the years. And now they were in a transition and now they're just in a mood of dominating. I really do. When you add the likes of Guimaraes now and Konza, Premier League experience as well. It's not just players that he's plucked from abroad, integrated into a winning Premier League team. I mean, Guimaraes, for me, is outstanding. We'll just take that load off Declan Rice and, like Mikel was saying there, having the players a bit more availability for them. But I'm expecting a big season from Odegaard as well. I think it was one of those you could kind of see him progressing in the World Cup. He actually started to get to his best. So it's going to be exciting. But yeah, I can't see why they can't dominate just like PSG have done in Europe. So Arsenal are here to stay, I believe.
Did the best just get better with Guimaraes and with the changes that they've brought in, Craig?
Possibly, and with the experience and with the success and with the knowledge that they can go over the line. They did go over the line, which was the big question in the two or three previous seasons. When City were strong and Arsenal just sort of faltered right at the end, they didn't do that last year. So I think they are the strongest by far. I think there's a big question mark over City, which I didn't see the Community Shield, but it was pretty emphatic in terms of scoreline. We don't know what Liverpool is going to be. We don't know what Chelsea is going to be. But we've got a good idea what Arsenal are going to be. And just to go back to that point that Theo made about it being a team, it's something we talked about in the summer at the end of the season, that when there was talk about Vinicius Junior and one or two other superstars, one of the things I said was Arteta had gotten away from the Arsenal that had an Ozil or a Sanchez or maybe somebody you would... You know, I'm not trying to be unfair, but maybe somebody that you... Who?
A Walcott.
Walcott.
Yeah.
Just have to get it in there, I'm afraid.
A passenger. Shall we say somebody who you might think it's kind of about them. And that's always a worry when a player comes in that's maybe got a big ego that's going to upset the dressing room and upset the work rate and the ethic of the team, because Arsenal, like most teams that are successful, were built on good quality players, structure, good football, which they didn't play as much as they could last year, but we know they can, and work rate. And I think sometimes if you try and get away from that and bring in a so-called superstar, and we're seeing these issues at Real Madrid, and we're going to discuss that as we go along this season, how Mourinho's going to cope with the egos and the superstars, that I think it's a dangerous game if Arsenal had to go down that line again. But I think it is all about making sure you bring in the player that fits the squad, that fits the dressing room, that fits the work rate. And I think that's where they are. Even Gyökeres last year, he wasn't brilliant, but he was a grafter and he run the channels and he fought with centre-halves, and it just allowed maybe some space for others. So I think looking at the rest, they've lost Trossard, who actually was a big player for them, you know, coming off the bench and filling in for people. But when you see what they've done, and Stevie always talks about this with Liverpool, when Liverpool in their heyday, It wasn't big changes all at once when Liverpool were successful, in the 80s in particular. It was small, incremental changes to try and build the squad and try and better the squad, which I think Arsenal are doing. So they're the only team for me that I think we're pretty positive we know what we're going to get. It's the others of what we would call the elite teams, the teams that you think may challenge. They're the ones we're looking at and thinking, right, what are they going to bring to the party this year? And that's going to be the big question. But I think Arteta has to be ready for that, ready for the challenge. But I'm not sure any of these other teams are big enough and good enough to go a full season with this Arsenal team.
Yeah, just those fine-tuning, those little tweaks.
Absolutely, and adding quality and depth to a squad that are already Premier League champions. And listen, we were right to question Arsenal's mentality when they go, was it 3 times finishing second in a row? Could they get it over the line? Now that they have, I don't think there's any doubt, most importantly, in their minds, that they can see this job through. And while Craig's absolutely right, there are a lot of questions around just about all the usual suspects, certainly in terms of that list and in terms as favourites to win the league. There are more answers for Arsenal in terms of you add quality in Guimaraes, who gives Arteta such option in that midfield. You lose Trossard, but you add Solis and who had an outstanding debut in the Community Shield. So it does not feel like Arsenal have dropped off in any single department. They've only gotten better. Well, there are still, as I mentioned, so many questions about everybody else.
Who are the closest challengers in your mind then, Theo, to Arsenal this season?
Well, the unknown is always a scary place to be. When you look at someone like a Xabi Alonso, Chelsea, I'm expecting them to be a different animal, to be honest. When you look at the likes of the English core they're building with Cole Palmer and, of course, Morgan Rogers, who we missed out on, sadly. I'm still kind of upset about that. However, I think Chelsea will be indifferent. Liverpool, I like the way he plays. Can he get a Liverpool side to, implement his style of play? I'm pretty sure he can, because he's that good at managing things. So I'm expecting them to be quite high and very different, and the change from Mo Salah. But it's always a difficult scenario when you don't want to be that next guy. I remember when, Arsene Wenger left Arsenal and Emery came in, you just don't want to be the next guy. You look at Man City, Maresca, they were disappointing, Community Shield, they really were. However, when you have Erling Haaland up front, just anything can happen. So for me, when I look at the closest that I can, I think that will disrupt this Arsenal teams themselves, really, because of the World Cup. I look at the World Cup players, amount of players that have gone, and I think that's going to be a big challenge for them to manage those guys who've had a long season. I'm talking the likes of Declan Rice. So managing that, but like Mikel was saying, we had the depth now. But I'm expecting Chelsea and Liverpool to challenge a little bit, to be honest. I really do. I think they're my two, outsiders, should we just say.
If you could pick, Theo, between the Premier League and the Champions League for Arsenal, what would you go for?
This season, I'll go Champions League. Why not? I think it's very difficult to win it back-to-back. Man City have only done it recently. Arsenal have never done it, I believe. So off the back of a World Cup, like I say, but I think the Champions League is where they want to hit next. And when you have a strong squad like they have now, the options in Guimaraes, like we refer to, endless occasions, I think he's just got that nitty-gritty side of things, which they have got, but he's just enhanced it. And just his work rate, his levels are only going to influence his teammates. So I want to see the Champions League. I think a lot of Arsenal fans do as well.
The thing is with that, if they could go back to back, it really would be a big statement. The Champions League, absolutely is huge and it's great, and they've never won it. But if they were to go back to back in the Premier League, it would be really testing the others to see how far they're willing to go. The one thing I would say about this, and I don't want to go overboard on Arsenal, but they are the team to beat, is that they can pretty much. And people say, well, they did this last year. They didn't play great football. They can, and they have. They just decided last year they were going to do it a certain way. And who are we to criticise because it worked? But the one thing I would say about this Arsenal team, which previous ones have had as well, and certainly ones that I played against in the late 90s, early 2000s, was they can outplay you, but they can physically fight you as well. And I don't mean fisticuffs, I mean in terms of their stature. They've got big, strong, physical players that if you want to have that physicality, and we used to talk about Wenger's team going to Bolton and other places, and it seemed he was always, or sometimes he was complaining and people got under his skin, and that's kind of normal. But this Arsenal side, to me, if you want to have that physical game with them, they'll have it. and they'll give as good as they get. And if you want to have a football game with them, they can do it. That's why the Champions League final was as disappointing, and we discussed it at length. It was disappointing because there was more for Arsenal there, but they took a stance that they were going to play a certain way, and it didn't work. But they can skin a cat several ways, and I'm not sure the other teams in the Premier League that are the challengers can, and we're going to find out.
So where would the weaknesses be?
I think the only weakness in this squad is in that number 9 position. I'm still not sold on Gyökeres. Havertz, who filled in and was actually preferred for a lot, particularly back end of last season, he's not a natural number 9. That being said, you get over the line last season in what I thought would have been more difficult because, again, they had not gotten over the line before that, and you could make the argument that others were in better positions than they are now. So while that may be their only weakness, I don't think it's enough to cost them during the course of the season.
What about you, Theo? Do you agree with what Shaq is saying? Where do you see the weaknesses in this Arsenal side?
Where do I see the weaknesses? I think it's, like I say, you can keep the players fit. I do feel the number 9 position is, and the left-hand side, I've felt like it's been a place which has always been up for grabs for many years, to be honest. And like when you look at a Saka, you guarantee he's going to play on the right-hand side. But on the left-hand side and up front, you're never too sure. I always felt like Havertz he's the go-to guy for big games. But yeah, that would be the one place. But it's just trying to locate and find those guys because they don't breed these number 9s like they do back in the day now. So, and the way he wants to play as well. And I think he doesn't want to disrupt the team too much. Look, I think we look at Gyökeres, and I'm actually pleased how well he's done considering he come out from a different league. And when we've seen other players come from other leagues, they struggle for periods of time. I'm expecting him to have, a much bigger part in this year. But for his first season to win the Premier League, I think that's not too bad. To help anyway in some sense. And it kind of like, the guys were saying there, it's that different side of it. He lighted the fight. That's the way he plays. So there's certain games like a Coventry might suit his bill more so than a Man United away, for instance.